Hi, welcome back to the shed for episode 4 of GGBO 2023, and in this episode we're going to return to the central section of the guitar and just thicken out the section where the body goes. Okay, so I've done a little mock-up of what it might look like, sort of. I'm starting to think about whether or not I should cover this over with anything. It's obviously got to have a fretboard on. I think I'm probably going to make that out of Wenge, but should I keep this bit, the stripiness? I don't know. We've got plenty of time to think about that. So we've got the wings sort of cut out. They need a little bit of fettling, they need a bit of fine tuning, but I can put those to one side for the minute because what I want to do is I want to bulk out the element of the central section where the wings attach because it actually needs to be a little bit thicker. So if I take this all to bits, we're currently at 71 mil. I want this to be about 100. So I need to add on another 30 mil of thickness basically. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a thin stripe of mahogany, about the same thickness as these two, on either side, probably another layer of black veneer, and then some more maple. Now I haven't got any maple left from the billet that I used for the blank, but I do have this lump here, which I'm hoping is long enough, easily long enough, definitely long enough. So I can use that, and I've also got this chunk of mahogany that's an offcut from one of the body wings, which is just wide enough for what I want. So what I need to do, I need to cut these down so they're the same thickness as the neck blank. So cut both of those down to that 57 mil thickness that we've got there, and then I can slice a couple of sections off the thickness that I need. Those, as I say, are probably going to be about 7 mil. These need to make up the rest of it, so 14, it's not going to be that much. It's only going to be about 10 or so mil thickness on the maple. So we'll do a quick bit of marking up and we'll get these to the bandsaw. And I've left that just a little bit longer than it needs to be, just so we've got a bit spare. Okay, so there's all of those laminations cut, and that's actually way more material than I need. So that's given me 110 mil. I'm looking for about 100. So I've got a little bit of material to take off those. I know that both of the bits of mahogany are about 1 millimeter too thick, and I need to take a little bit off the others as well, but you might be able to see there that that's actually brought that out to a more realistic size. So the next step is I need to get these down to more like the thickness that I want. So I'll start with the bits of mahogany, and they just need a very quick clean up and about 1 millimeter taking off the thickness. So I'm not going to bother going to all the fuss of breaking out the thicknesser. What I will do is get these stuck down to the bench with some super glue and masking tape and just run a hand plane over them very quickly until we are where we need to be with them. Okay, so that's the first of the maple done. I've done both of the mahogany bits. The mahogany bits were quite easy. You can see on this which way the grain is running. And I don't know if you'll be able to see on this side profile here, but on this bit you can see that the grain is running an angle in this direction. And you need to think of this like stroking a cat. If you stroke the cat the way the fur's going, they're fine. But if you stroke it the other way, they tend to have a problem with that and get a bit mean and vicious. And wood's the same. If you try and plane it the wrong way, you'll just tear the grain out. So with these fibres running upwards in this direction, that means we have to plane that way. And that will mean that this timber just planes nice and smooth and doesn't tear out. The maple, on the other hand, is quite figured. And that figure introduces problems. I looked at this and it seemed to me as if the grain was running this way. So I tried planing it this way and it did rip out a little bit. It wasn't too bad, but it was tearing out. So I've then come back this way, but because of the figure in the wood, it was still tearing out a little bit. Not as much, but still tearing a little bit. So that's why I've come in at that very steep angle like that. And that kind of just slices through the grain much better. And I've got a nice clean surface there. So next up we need to get this off the bench and we need to mark it up for the correct thickness that we want. And we'll stick it down and plane it again. Now, having established that the grain runs in this direction, what I would normally do is I'd flip it end to end, and that means that I could then plane in that direction again, and we should be running with the grain. However, I prefer to work from this direction if I can. So in this situation, if I flip that over like that, in theory, I should be able to just plane in this direction and get this one sorted out as well. Okay, so there's all my laminations cut and cleaned up. I've also got some little bits of black veneer. I'll just simply cut those with a scalpel. Very easy. So next up, we need to start getting these glued up, and I'm just going to put them in the right order before I mess things up. So essentially these need to glue on like that and like that. Now they are different lengths because the body wings are different lengths, and I'm going to do those transitions into the central section straight from the body wings. Hopefully that will look okay. I've marked a line on here just so I know where these need to start. I'm hoping that I can keep this all nice and flush and level. So nothing really for it now but to just get the glue out again, get everything glued up, get it in position as best I can, and get some clamps on the job. Okay, so we had a couple of things come up in the comments section from the last video. Firstly, a couple of people said that I should not put the wenge on the front of the body and I should just leave it the laminated stripes. The more I look at it, the more I agree. I think the laminations have come together really, really nicely, and it would be a shame to cover them all over. Next up comes the headstock, and there was a mixed reaction. A lot of people said, yeah, reverse headstock. A lot of people said, no, don't do that. People were generally supportive of the Firebird headstock. But then someone suggested that I look at the Lizzie Hale signature model. Now I am aware of her, but I wasn't aware of the signature model. And that is basically an Explorer with a Firebird headstock on it. I did take a look, and I'll be honest, it kind of put me off the idea a little bit. It doesn't look horrible, but it just doesn't look as nice as I'd want it to. So what I've decided is I am going to put together my own design from the headstock. It's going to be quite angular. It's probably going to be 6 on one side, potentially reversed, but it won't be the Firebird one. I need to do a little bit of work on that. There are some technicalities around making it look right with the laminations on the neck, and I'm pretty sure I will put some kind of veneer on the front of the headstock. I just don't know what yet. And the other thing from the last video was the amount of positive feedback I got in the comment section, especially regarding subscribers, etc. And some of them were actually quite touching. I think it's easy sometimes to not understand exactly how much people enjoy what you're doing, and then it comes as a little bit of a surprise when they actually turn around and tell you. So I was very, very pleased to read those comments, and in a way it makes it all worthwhile. Putting these videos together can be quite a job. I spend a lot of time in the shed, and I also spend quite a bit of time editing, etc. So it does make a big difference when you get that kind of positive feedback. The other piece of positive news was I did kind of put it out there that people should subscribe to the channel if they hadn't already done so. And I was amazed that I got over 50 people who actually did subscribe. So that's absolutely brilliant. So thanks to each and every one of you who subscribed, but I'm pretty sure there's plenty more who didn't. So come on guys, just hit that button. It does make things feel very, very much more worthwhile for me. Anyway, back to the build. Okay, so that's all glued up. We'll leave that overnight just for everything to dry up nicely, which gives us an opportunity to talk about the first bit of hardware that has now finally arrived to put on this guitar. And the first bit of hardware I've got is the bridge. Well, I say bridge, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because what I've got, as you can see, is a Floyd Rose tremolo system. Now, I always said this was going to be a shredder. It's going to be full-on 80s hair metal styly, and for me there was only one way to go, and that was to put something like this on. Now, full disclosure, my experience of these things is extremely limited. I've never put one on a guitar before. I've played a couple of guitars with them briefly. I've never owned one. I've never set one up. I've definitely never installed one. So this could be an interesting few weeks whilst we get this sorted out. Having looked at it briefly, it looks to me like a very complicated Stratocaster setup. Now, I've got a 1989 Strat which has got this twin post kind of knife edge system for mounting it, so I have played with that side of things a little bit. That spring claw and the springs straight out of the Stratocaster playbook, so I'm not at all concerned about that. Locking nut is going to be a little bit of a new one on me, but I don't think there's a huge amount of complexity involved in that. Relatively straightforward, I think. Getting this installed though, the routing and everything else is going to be a little bit of a mission. I don't fully understand the geometry of them. I don't fully understand how they're set up. So the long and the short of it is I'm probably going to have to watch a few videos to get my head around this. I might have to buy a set of routing templates, but I'm pretty sure we can get this installed. I'm actually quite excited about this. I think there could be a lot of frustrations coming up, but I think it's going to be a great learning experience, and that's never a bad thing. So there's the first bit of hardware. We're nowhere near ready for it yet, but it's here, and I can get these measurements and I can kind of work out how deep the body needs to be, etc, etc. So it is an important thing to have on hand at the moment. So next up with the build is getting the clamps off and cleaning up what we've stuck on today. And from there we can start working out how much of that neck blank we need to be cutting away to get the shape that we want. That's for the next episode though. I'm going to leave this one here. So as always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.